You're watching WJLA 24/7 News. Good Morning Washington. On your side.
President Trump visited a Ford plant in Michigan yesterday. Now, he refused to wear a mask in front of the cameras, even though masks are required, because he said he didn't want to give reporters the pleasure of seeing him. Take a listen.
I wore one in this back area, but I didn't want to give the press the pleasure of seeing it.
So political insider Armstrong Williams joins us now to discuss this. So, Armstrong, what message does that send to Americans that the president refuses to wear a mask as required by the plant and actually by state law, as the coronavirus death toll now passes 94,000?
Melanie, I think I'm going to disappoint you this morning. I think President Trump feels the way that many Americans feel. I know Americans, it will surprise you, that refuse to wear the mask because at one point the government told them the mask was not effective. And even when wearing the mask, they say, well, it'll assure someone doesn't get your germs, but it doesn't prevent you from getting there. There have been so many stories about the mask. I do think if you're going to communicate with someone, you're not going to communicate with someone with a mask on. The president did compromise and wear the mask at certain aspects of the tour yesterday. But before the press, he had to speak to the press, and you're not going to talk to the press with a mask on. And they just want to use it for fodder to further malign him. But the president is just not alone. Look, I would be a hypocrite. You know, a mask, you're circulating your own germs. I think the jury's still out on masks. I understand what the states are passing. I understand what the demands are. But this is the president of the United States. I think he sets an example. There were those in his entourage that were wearing the mask. He was not wearing a mask. He thinks it's an issue of weakness. I think it represents who we are as Americans. There are those that feel that way, but there are those who will say you got to show responsibility. You got to set the example. Hey, he did it his way. That's why he still continues to have the approval of so many people in his party, because they don't like him kowtowing to the press or to the establishment. Take it any way you like. I didn't have a problem with it.
All right. Well, do the masks also conflict with his message that everything is fine, it's time, let's go and reopen the economy?
I don't think it's the president that's only advocating reopening the economy. Reopening the economy has nothing to do with the mask. You've got a health crisis. You've got an economic crisis. The economy and back to work is the way to life to American people. You've got to be able to provide health care, put food on the table, take care of circumstances, take care of education. It's just common sense that we got to get back to the work. I think the president, the governors, the mayors, even the mayor of Washington, D.C., is going to be making an announcement soon. I think this hopefully is good news that D.C. will be opening soon. We got to get back to the business of the American people. I think the president is setting an example that even if the virus does come back with a vengeance, the government is not going to shut down again. I think many people agree with that sentiment. I mean, you talk to everyday business owners that have lost their way of life, lost their businesses. Some employees will never get their jobs back again. You have no idea the roots of this devastation once we begin to see it in full view. I mean, look at the unemployment numbers that continue to soar and continue to rise. You may not like the president. Sometimes he may appear petty, and he sometimes can appear sensitive. But on this issue of leadership, that no matter what happens going forward with the coronavirus, the world's greatest economy should never shut down again. Many people agree with that.
We got just a few seconds. I want to ask you one more thing about why President Trump stopped taking that anti-malaria drug, hydroxychloroquine, this week. He said he was going to take his last dose yesterday. He was taking it as a preventive against coronavirus, even though that's unproven. So do you know why he stopped taking it?
Yes. Because today marks his 14 days of being on hydroxychloroquine, and he stops it today. We interviewed Dr. Robert Armstrong a couple of weeks ago, who was on the cutting edge of this drug, and he said even in his nursing home, 37 out of 38 patients not only survive but thrive as a result of being on this drug, the malaria drug. Look, Melanie, none of our anatomies are the same. Hydroxychloroquine works for some people. It doesn't work for others. There are a lot of things out there about vaccines and what works and what doesn't work. And if it worked for the president, it works for other Americans, fine. It doesn't seem to have any repercussions of the president using the drug. Everything, there's not a one fit for everybody. There are a lot of things that have been said. We're still trying to find the right vaccine. We're still trying to find the right kind of drugs that work for different people. Nothing's going to work the same. I don't think the president should be criticized for using the drug. The fact is he was on it for 14 days. It worked for him. It ends the day. Let's just move on.
All right, that'll have to be the final word today anyway. Thank you so much, Armstrong. You should watch the Armstrong Williams Show every Saturday morning at 10:30 right here on WJLA 24/7 News.